the Airgun World podcast, brought to you in association with Crackshot, the Southwest premier airgun centre and ranges. Joining me on the show today, we've got the godfather of airgunning himself, my ever-faithful, trusty co-presenter, Mr. Terry Doe. How are you, Terry?
I'm all good, mate, all good. Loving the retirement still, but keen to do a bit more.
Excellent stuff. Okay, now our studio guest this evening is an Airgun World contributor who's been writing for the magazine for as long as I can remember, and he is probably the person in the UK that I would go to if I ever wanted to know anything about infrared night vision scopes, because this guy knows it all. He's seen them all. He's seen them all before everybody else sees them. And he's also a very, very accomplished hunter in his own right. It's Mr. Russ Douglas. Russ, welcome to the show.
Thank you, gents. Thank you, Dave. Hi, Terry. Thanks for letting me join you.
No, it's great to have you on, mate. Great to have you on. I've got a few questions myself that I want to ask you, because I'm not that tech savvy, and I'm not even going to go there with Terry.
No, I can plug things in and shoot things. That's it.
Okay, so right, let's kick off. Okay, now a very good friend of mine has recently bought two Arken Zulus infrared scopes. A while ago now it was. You were the first person in the UK to review it. It wasn't actually called Arken then, was it? It was called something else, and Arken switched onto it and picked it up.
Yeah, that was the Hitac CP258, and a guy called Ben, lovely bloke. We all met him at the shooting show in February. He was basically the managing director of Hitac, and he contacted me and said, "Would you like to review our new night vision scope?" And I was like, "Okay." I had never heard of him from Adam, and I said, "Yeah, go for it." I said, "I've got one caveat. Am I allowed to be completely honest? Pros and cons." And to my relief and joy, he said, "Absolutely. We want to know. We want you to use it. We want you to review it. We want to know what's good and bad." And I said, "Oh, I've done a few videos already on like other scopes or the compact night vision. I've bought and used 3 or 4 generations of different parts, and I currently own 2 DS35s, which is the one with the sort of Starship Enterprise superstructure at the front for the LRF and the IR illuminator." And as soon as I mentioned videos, he went, "Oh, I've watched all your videos." I was like, "Oh." He said, "Oh, I've watched all your videos." And they had watched all my videos, a lot of which were filmed with the help of night vision guru Bruce, a friend of ours, Dave, and now a different friend, Billy, has joined us. He's a professional pest controller. So right now in Aberdeen, Billy and Bruce have got the job. They're working together, and then they send stuff to me and I send stuff to them, and I'm editing videos, partly recorded by me and partly recorded by them. But yeah, so to our great relief and satisfaction, Ben said, "Oh, absolutely, I want to work with, we want to work with you properly." And 100% honesty, total honesty is all he wanted. And we were like, yes. So I wrote an article and I did a video. I've got a full video reviewing the Hitac CP258, which is the non-LRF version, so it doesn't have an R on the end. And basically that has never seen the light of day, because then Ben got in touch and said, "We've now become part of the Arken Optics group. So we don't want you to review that scope. We're going to send you a different one with a different name on the side. It's the same scope." So the Hitac CP258 became the Arken Optics Zulus, the ZHD 520R. The beauty is, and I know Terry would call this cheating, but the beauty is that includes what I abbreviate it to BCL, Ballistic Calculator. So you take your phone, there's an Arken Optics app, you key in the crucial features, which is your muzzle velocity, your height of the barrel above the scope above the bore, your projectile weight in grains or grams, and ballistic profile, and I'm trying to think, have I got everything? There's 5 crucial features. This is an all singing, all dancing fella, and I have tested the 520R from 35 meters down to about 10 meters, which is the range the LRF, minimum range the LRF works to. The new Zulu's ZHD 312R, which is this one here, that works down to, at my request, that works down to 5 meters. So when they told me they were bringing out a lower mag, wider angle version of the 520, basically specifically for airgun use. I mean, people will use it to shoot at goodness knows what range, but it's especially appealing to airgunners. When they said they were bringing it out, I said, can I ask a favor? Can you adjust the LRF so it ranges less than 10 meters? Because there's lots of people who only shoot out to 10 meters when they're ratting. Some will say, and I've seen this on the forums, some will say, oh, if you can't hit a rat within 10 meters, you shouldn't be doing it. But you know me, I love bullpups. And if I've got a 75 or an 80 mil offset from the scope to the barrel, every meter, that makes a heck of a difference. If you're aiming for the kill zone on a small rat, I've shot rats that small in the head at 40 meters with the ZHD 520R. That's a very, very, you're talking a target the size of your little fingernail. So that sort of kind of difference makes that range makes a difference. And for example, high micro LRFs will only range down to 10 meters and then they cut out. I've reviewed scopes from them, and I've reviewed handheld laser rangefinders and with night vision and thermal, and they will only range 10 meters. Arken went away, spoke to the R&D guys, came back and said, we've done it, it'll range down to 5 meters. Is that okay? And I was like, yay! I was very happy with that. And I think people are now buying these already in the UK. And I think I've seen people, one guy said his was ranging down to 4.5 yards. That's brilliant, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty important. I mean, it's great that you've got that door in and they value your knowledge. Like I said when I introduced you, you've been reviewing infrared night vision gear for a very long time. And, people that are listening to this, watching this, will currently realise that, if you don't mind me saying so, you're a bit of a geek about it because you remember all the numbers, you remember everything, and you are very, very thorough when you do your testing and reviews and stuff. Well, and it's great that they've got you on board to tell them what UK airgun hunters want. I mean, with regards to shooting rats at less than 10 metres, I mean, Terry will attest to this because I've shot loads of rats with Terry before. Rats pop out at all ranges. They can be at your feet. I've had them running over my boots when I've been sat in a cattle shed. Yeah. And you have to know your ranges. If you don't have a ballistic calculator, which we'll come on to a little bit later, you have to know your ranges to shoot them literally off the end of the barrel out to 40 metres. And now that you can actually do that, that's sort of changed the way I shoot anyway. I've got a Hick Micro Cheetah, as you know, which I've mounted on top of one of my BSAs, and I absolutely love that. My mate Simon went and bought 2 of the Zulus. He bought one, loved it so much, and up here in Lincolnshire, we've got quite a few permissions, but they're mostly rats in barns or outdoor yards or rabbits, which are usually long range. So we basically have 2 setups on the go. We have a rabbit in rifle setup ready to shoot, and then a rat setup ready to shoot. And if it's raining, we go in the barn, shoot rats. If it's a nice evening and the weather's right and the wind's in the right direction, we're out rabbiting. So it's just great to be able to pick them up. So he bought 2 of the Arkens just purely for that, because they're that good, and they're not expensive, are they, Russ?
No, $599.
Well, I would like to make a point on this, on what Russ has just said. Even in the high-tech world of field target competition, all of us dreaded those close shots. We dreaded them because, as Russ just said, a 5-yard target is not the same as a 6-yard target, especially when you've got a big scope and a large objective bell, which cranks the scope 2.5 inches above the bore. Now, with the advent of bullpups that we all use, we're all using bullpups, it would seem, that difference is even more pronounced. I'll make an old man statement now. I would rather, from point blank to 6 yards, I would rather shoot rats with open sights than any amount of technology. If I can see them, I don't need to actually range them that much. If I got a set of open sights lying right along that barrel, I will guarantee I'll hit them in the head with a Springer. And that is how difficult a really close shot is. It's really difficult. And half a yard can turn a hit into a miss. And people think, oh, it's looking down the barrel at you. No, I'd rather shoot, with all the technology, I'd rather shoot a rat at 20 yards than 5, because it's so crucial. And of course, at night, you've got the tunnel effect, you've got the darkness around you. Sometimes one of your eyes isn't working because you've had it up to a light source all the time. And rats, as Russ said earlier, come in all sorts of different sizes. Some of them are as big as guinea pigs, and some are not much bigger than mice. So everything's against you on those close shots. And if you're not relating it to I know that beam is 10 yards away, or I know that combine harvester with the cover over it, that's just not all that. If you've got none of those to relate to, I tell you, rangefinder and knowing where to aim is even more crucial. It really is.
Can I just mention that me being disabled, partly being disabled, and the crutches take away all stealth. If you imagine me, 6'4", in the darkness, I've got my trusty head torch on, and I'm trying not to slip and slide on ice, for example, in a farmyard, and I'm trying to be quiet, and there's something out there I want to shoot which doesn't want to be shot. The best camouflage is darkness. So that means that night vision and thermal is basically camouflage for me. And as well, physically, I cannot shoot kneeling down. I can't kneel down unless I've got something strong like a bed frame to hold on to if I'm getting up off the floor. And I cannot shoot prone. My back just won't let me. If I lie face down, stretched out, I'm in agony for a week. So I do my shooting. I either sit on a bucket seat or a stool with the rifle in trigger sticks, or in a saddle clamp on basically like a tripod type clamp or trigger sticks, or I shoot standing. And I can't really for shooters who use sticks commonly, and they move a few steps to the right as the target goes left, or vice versa. I can't do that because I've got to grab my right crutch, take the weight, and shuffle to the right, and while directing the rifle to the left and trying not to fall over. For me, the best camouflage is darkness, and I love night vision. And right now, it's the 17th of June, and I think it's going to be sunset where I am. It's going to be like 5 to 11, I think. And it's going to be dawn at daylight is 3:30, 4:45 or something. So I'm going to be out with these two scopes in a couple of nights recording video footage for my next article for the magazine, reviewing the ZHD 312R, the Arken Zulus. And I'm going to have to go to sleep at 5 or something, get a couple of hours kip, and get up at midnight just to get some darkness, a small amount of darkness.
Everything's against us as hunters at this time of year, isn't it? It's I love hunting on a warm summer's evening, going out shooting some rabbits, laying in the field and getting the last bit of that warmth of sunlight on me. But I prefer hunting in the dark. It is the best camouflage you can get, and like you say, we don't get very much this time of year. But today, when this is going out, is my birthday. It's the 21st of June, longest day of the year. So, as from tomorrow, the nights are going to be drawing in again. Woo! What a great summer we've had so far.
Hold on a minute. Hold on, you young'uns. Hold on a minute here. We only want to hunt in the dark business. These summer months, right? The brighter the sun, the darker the shade. And it's, Russ, you'll have to sit this one out. But if we're stalking or generally mooching about, you can really make these conditions pay. You got so many feeding opportunities for the animals. They need to drink as well. If you get to know what they're doing, what their routines are, you've got literally, you can be out in those fields at 3:30 in the morning, as I frequently am, and you have got the world to yourself for at least 3 or 4 hours before everybody else starts waking up. It's a wonderful, wonderful time of year. And I know we've got another week or so and then the nights will start drawing in again. But it never miss out on any opportunity to be out there and learn. We'll have to get Russ one of these little buggies and like little tracked vehicle things. That can be the next. Yeah, go for that.
Do you know what, mate? I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because the reason I love hunting so much in the dark is because I love these new infrared and thermal scopes. That's what it is. I get an absolute buzz out of using them. Back in the day, I would pray for decent light on a summer's evening when I was out hunting rabbits. Exactly as you say, laying in the shade, whatever. Please stay light for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I absolutely pray for it. But now I want it to get dark because I love using the infrared gear. It's brilliant. I mean, it works in daylight anyway. All these scopes are digital day-night scopes, but the image quality from the night vision from the infrared these days is just so good. It's like watching a film on telly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've never had it so good equipment-wise, without a shadow of a doubt. We've never had it so good. I'll try and explain it to my dear old dad, and after about 5 minutes, he just shuts down, and he said, "Do you actually have to be there?" "Yeah, Dad, we still have to actually attend, but we have a certain amount of advantage here now, without a doubt." Can I just take this opportunity just to say that technical knowledge and all that aside, Russ Douglas is the living embodiment of the ethos of our sport being a sport for all. All right. Now, Russ makes light of his physical challenges. Russ,
thank you.
I received a very detailed report of the accident and some photos of the accident that led to Russ's injuries, and it's as scary as it wants to be. It was too scary for me to publish most of it, but he's bounced back from it. You can see him getting round and round and round at the shows. He's going, he does more miles than we do with his. He's going along, walking along like those striders in Star Wars on his bits of, on his crutches and stuff. The most enthusiastic person in the world, and living proof that this sport, you can overcome challenges. He doesn't just do it, Russ Douglas. He does it at such a high level that he's on the same level as the top target shooters, the top hunters and all that. This should embarrass him to death, which is great. But he's not just taking part on a token level and having a bit of a go. He is really very, very good at what he does. And he is, as I say, he is the absolute embodiment of sport for all. Russ can do it, and he's a great example to us all, that boy. He is. Anyway, Russ, that'll do now.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. I must owe you a tenner or something.
Easy.
So you mentioned technology, and you mentioned in the shade, when the shade, was it you, Terry? You mentioned when the shade's really dark under the trees. Yeah, right. Well, this scope here, if I turn the screen slightly, this scope here is one of two in the UK. It's the Arken optics. It's not the Zulus, it's the TN, which stands for thermal night. And basically, it's the multispectral scope. I don't know if you can see it here, but if I angle it, you see four lenses there. So you've got the large one here is thermal. Yeah. The one above it is digital, so that's day or night. This one on this side is, for above, that's the laser rangefinder. And below the laser rangefinder is the IR illuminator. So that's multispectral, day, night, thermal, and it's got the laser rangefinder, and it's got the IR illuminator. And visual aids wise, if your prey is skittish, and if the little IR illuminator there has got a faint red glow, and if your rabbits or rats are alarmed by that, you just unscrew this module, which is the size of my thumb, literally, and that's 940 nanometers. So basically there'll be no red glow, almost no red glow whatsoever, and it's a VCSEL. So I think these retail at 40 or 50 quid. You can put these on. The 850 nanometers, which is the most common one, will have a faint red glow. If I just pick up a torch here, got some visual aids. If I switch this on, see that pink glow? See that it looks like it's on faintly. With the naked eye, there's nothing there. If I shine it on my hand, there's nothing there. That's, let's have a look. That's on 850. If I flick this little switch, it's slightly dimmer. That's on 940. So this is a Brynite. I reviewed this years ago. T28 Artemis torch, and that's got 940, 850, or white. And I have lined up when I started using this when I was first reviewing it. I have lined up on 1 or 2 rabbits in the darkness, flicked it the wrong way, flicked it onto white, and every rabbit for a mile around went way, and off they went. So you have to learn your gear so you can use it in the dark without looking at it. But yeah, so excellent kit, and this multispectral. This I haven't yet publicised any footage from this because Arken asked me not to. This is one of 2 one or 2 prototypes, pre-production prototypes in the UK, and no money's changed hands or anything. They allowed me to be 100% honest, and Bruce and Billy with our review, and we've given them feedback. They've taken it all on board, plus everybody else they met, like you guys at the shooting show. Everyone went to the Arken stand. They took all the feedback on board. They then said to us after the show, they sent me this a month or 2 later, and they sent the other scope to Bruce. And they then said, "Oh, you can't put any footage online." We were like, "What?" And they said, the reason is we're not happy with the quality. We've had a look at it, and we want to improve it slightly better. Both the thermal and the day and night image, we want to improve it slightly more for about the same price point, which is staggering, before it goes on sale. So I've had to stay zipped. I haven't been able to publish any footage from this since the show in February, or since I received it in April, I think it was. But then I was on the 4-way phone call this morning between myself, Bruce and Billy in Aberdeen, and the Arken team in China, and they revealed some stuff that I can't reveal about deadlines and things and pricing and such like. But basically, this will be on sale in a couple of months or sooner, and it'll be astonishingly cheap, and it'll be better quality than the one I've got here. The unit that will go on sale will have better image quality than the one everyone looked through at the British Shooting Show, and we're all blown away by that. So we are very grateful to them for the opportunity, to try the kit and play with it, but also to give them honest feedback. And there are other companies that have reviewed stuff. I've borrowed stuff from them, reviewed it, given them feedback, made suggestions, and they've said, "We'll think about it." And that was it. Nothing more was, no improvements were made. But Arken have made all the improvements we've suggested, basically either fully, or they've had very good reason to make other adjustments, and they can't do everything. It won't make you dinner and wash the dishes afterwards, but it's pretty good. So yeah, we're very, very impressed. So you've got the day and night, the thermal, the ballistic calculator, the illuminator, which can be covert if you want it to be. And this has got little contacts, spring-loaded contacts at the end. You just unscrew one, screw the other one in, sealed with an O-ring, IP67. The only thing I can think of they didn't do, we wanted it to be upgraded to a 21700 battery. The longer, fatter battery. But 21700, it's 21 mil diameter and 70 millimeter long. But they eventually decided to stay with 18650, so it's 18 diameter, 65 long. But other than that, they've included an awful lot of the suggestions we gave them, and everybody else gave them following the shooting show. And it's all you want is people to respond, and then respond to the feedback and incorporate as many of the suggestions as possible.
I'm going to get a shameless plug in now for the magazine. Obviously, this is the July issue that's still on sale. The summer issue should be out in another week or so, I believe. Well done, Russ. If you want to grab yourself a copy of this, You can subscribe to it. Head on over to www.airgun-world.com. You'll find all the tabs up for the shop, which gives you exclusive offers and stuff. If you in the description below, we'll put an exclusive offer for the podcast viewers, listeners. You can also subscribe to our newsletter via the website, which is now weekly. We do a weekly newsletter, and it's full of interesting links and useful links. Some of Russ's stuff, some of my stuff, some of Terry's stuff. It's all topical. So head on over to airgun-world.com and take a look around. Now, obviously, you're going to be reviewing this new multispectral unit for us I believe that'll be the September issue. Will it be? After this,
the September issue, it'll be the ZHD 312R, so the wide-angle version of the existing 520. That'll be in the September issue, and I'll be out tomorrow recording more in the garden.
Excellent.
And the multispectral one is probably a couple of months away. So
more testing.
As soon as I can review, because they obviously don't want the final review article and video to be done with with a scope with the lower res setting. They want it to look as good as possible. Because they want what we review to be the same thing that people will buy in the shops.
That makes absolutely perfect sense. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so let's just go back to IR torches. Just clarify something for me here. So nanometers is, infrared is basically radiation, isn't it? Nanometers is the wavelength, isn't it, of that radiation. Now, I've always been told that 850 nanometers gives you a far better picture. It's less blurry than using 940 nanometers. Is that true in your experience?
Yes, basically 850 nanometers is the most efficient wavelength to use with digital night vision gear. So when you switch to, with a Zulu scope, I would switch to 940. I would unplug the 850 and plug in this 940. Or in the event of this LED torch, I would flip the dial from 850 to 940. But the 940 nanometers is about 25% less efficient with digital gear. In other words, it's 25% dimmer. You can any decent LED torch will have a little tail switch. If I pop it on, you see the little green light?
Yeah.
You've got a discrete LED light that tells you when it's on, because you don't want to look in the beam to see if it's glowing red.
Absolutely.
You're potentially causing self-harm. So you need a discrete visual aid. So this is on. It's got a silent rotary dimmer switch, and then off. So you never look in the beam, and the beam. This is an LED, but the collar is adjustable, so that flares out or narrows down the beam. And when you switch it to 940, you're on 850. You switch it to 940, it's roughly 25% dimmer, and you can just turn the beam up slightly, or you can focus the beam by adjusting the collar, narrow the beam down. And it might be that if you were looking at something a fair distance away, like a rabbit at 60 meters with an FAC air rifle, it might well be that your beam narrows down enough that looking through your scope display, it's black apart from the central area is illuminated. But as long as the rabbit's in the central area, you're cool.
Right, so I've got another question for you, Russ, because I've been having problems. I've been sent a scope for review. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm having a hell of a time trying to get this ballistic calculator to it. In your experience with ballistic calculators, do they work straight from the word go when you put in the distance between the centre of the scope and the bore of the barrel, the ballistic coefficient, weight of the pellet, and the various other bits and bobs, or do you have to tweak it slightly just to get it right on a range?
There are a few little hiccups. Like sometimes it's user error. And have you heard the phrase picnic? It's an IT phrase, picnic. problem in chair, not in computer. And some. So Billy was helping one guy. I think I'd passed someone on to Billy, and Billy took the time. He had more time than me, and he got the guy to send him the screenshots. And one person had put in 130 grain rather than 13 grain for the weight of their pellets. So, you've got to check the small print of the data you do input. But there are one or two little hurdle, one or two things that can trip you up. Like if you set your maximum range be up to something if you're using an air rifle and you set your maximum range to something unrealistic, then it might sometimes you're using the LRF and it'll say out of range, and it's almost like the scope has been too clever because it's worked out at the range you're pointing at, or at the velocity, or at the pellet weight, or whatever, that the pellet has already dropped off the bottom of the screen. So when it says out of range, it might be that you're pointing a mile away, or it might be that one of those parameters has been sort of isn't quite right, But Billy is GPC Bill on the Airgun forums, and Bruce is Mealy Jimmy. And on my Zulus videos that I've already done, I keep getting people thanking me for them, but I just do the videos to accompany my articles in Airgun World. And Bruce has written a 9-page PDF, which basically takes people right in, if they want to, takes people right into the nitty-gritty.
I suppose really I should explain because we're all sitting here talking tech and stuff. There'll be people watching and listening to this that have no idea what we're going on about. Basically, a lot of these day-night digital scopes now come with a ballistic calculator, and as Russ has said, you basically input all the data onto an app that's on your phone. And basically what it does is, because you've got a laser rangefinder built into the scope, if you're looking at a rat or a rabbit, say you're looking at a rabbit at 30 yards, you've zeroed your rifle for 30 metres, say, hit your laser rangefinder, and it will go, boom, there's your crosshair is where your crosshair should be. If that rabbit's out at 15 metres, you ping it with the laser rangefinder, it sort of flickers in the screen as you're looking through it, and then it brings up where your crosshair stays where it is, and it brings up another crosshair, and that's where you need to aim. It basically works out your hold over and hold under at ranges now, thanks to Russ, around 5 metres, all the way out to what we shoot.
Thanks to Arken.
Yeah. Well, you suggested it, mate, and it's a great thing to have in the armoury. Terry, what's your views on ballistic calculators and not needing to know your hold over and hold under these days?
You don't think I've used one, do you? Well, I have. I'll tell you, I don't care how proficient you are and how good you are and how much you rely on that technology. If you don't check it out in the real world on a target range on paper, then you are making a terrible mistake. And I've used quite a few. I've used, is it the PARD? Is it the 008? The PARD has got one with it? Yeah. I've got on really well with that.
008S.
Got on really well with that. But not all of the ranges were spot on. And do remember, a headwind or a side wind can push those pellets up and down as well as side to side. So the important thing to do for your own confidence, for the overall efficiency, as much as you rely on technology, and we all do, before you actually use it on anything live, check it out on a range on paper, not targets, on paper. So you're hitting pellet holes. You're not knocking over 1.5-inch discs or spinners. So yes, the technology is a magnificent thing, and as you know, I'm an arriviste to all this. I've just turned up Terry come lately, and I'm loving it. But I still go back old school and check it on the range before I go out and use it, especially new stuff, especially. And each time you get a new tin of pellets from a different batch, you'll be surprised what can happen there as well, especially at the longer ranges. So check it out. If anything at all changes in your setup, check it out. Get it checked practically. No, see? You thought you were going to catch me out.
Well, I'm glad to see you've had the experience in there, Terry. Like I say, we've both been shooting together for a number of years now, haven't we? And we were both a bit late to the party, really, when it comes to infrared and night vision. But yeah, we're absolutely loving it. Right, go for it, Russ. What you got, mate?
Okay, well, this is my mobile phone, and if I turn this round and I'll face it to you, plug in. This is Hype Micro. This is the little Explorer E20 thermal spotter, and I don't currently have a handheld thermal spotter, but you can see there, if I angle that, you see how dark my glasses are because they're cold. So I'm literally, that's a live image. This little thermal camera is recording my face, and you can see my nose is a little bit cold and my glasses are a little bit cold. So this is my thermal spotter if I'm out doing pest control. And the only thing I have to watch, of course, is if I'm in a really dark pitch black barn, then having my mobile phone, I'm looking at this and having it, you can see the reflection on my glasses, and you've got to make sure that the glare doesn't warn things off. But thermal technology, you've both got thermal spotters, I'm sure, and it's such a technological godsend that it's now affordable. I mean, these things are a couple of £100. And this is the Hype Micro Explorer, but fantastic kit, and it fits in a tiny little pouch, which is there. You can literally go out with it in your fleece pocket.
I'd like to drop something into the show, that's something that I've bought recently that's sort of helped me out, and it's one of these. Terry put me onto these. It's an Air Thief. It's from Best Fittings. Now, on the end of most whips, you have a Foster fitting, don't you? So these Air Thieves, you get your field probe for whatever rifle you've got. I think that might be a BSA one. You screw it into there. Obviously, do it up tightly with your pliers. It comes with a decent washer as well. So all of my rifles now, because I use various rifles that I explained earlier for rabbiting and ratting and target practice and whatnot. It's just, we've all got more than one rifle, or most of us have. So yeah, all my field probes now are connected to one of these, and then wherever I go, it's just clips on to a Foster fitting on the end of someone's whip, and I can steal a little bit of air.
Yeah, that's it.
They're about £10 each or something like that. So I bought 4 last week to put to all my various fittings, and I just thought, how did I not know or hear about that? Right, let's get into some questions, shall we? I'll kick off first. So this chap called Martin Hirons, he emailed me and said, I'm in my mid-70s and I've only just got into air guns. He's got a 6-24, and at 12 times magnification, my groups are way better than at 24 times magnification. Can you explain why this is?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this quite a bit, haven't we, Terry? So go on, I'll let you go dive in on this one.
I can tell you why that is. It's because your scope at 12 mag is fooling you into believing you're nice and steady, so you calm down and you squeeze the shot off. No problem at all. That's great. And if you only have a shoot on 12 mag and that's as good as you want to be, that's fine. Everything's fine. What I would suggest is unless there is a technical problem with the scope, to keep that scope when you're training, when you're doing your practicing, keep it high. Get the scope up high. If you're moving, get it high mag. If you're moving, then alter your position. The scope is letting you know that your stance isn't as solid as it should be. So unless there is a technical problem, and one of the ways to find that out is to take it up a few mag at a time and see if the impact point changes. Then you can test the turrets by taking it 10 clicks up, 10 clicks right, 10 clicks down, 10 clicks left. If it doesn't come back to the point of origin, you've got a mechanical problem with your scope. But all that aside, if your scope is operating, train with it on the highest mag you possibly can in all your positions. That will be your best friend because it will point out that you're wobbling. And those who say, "Oh, I wobble too much when I turn the scope mag up," you're still wobbling when you turn it down. It doesn't change your stance. All it changes is your perception of it. But that in itself can actually make you feel confident, and you will relax. So although it is fooling you, really, you can get a better result. But persevere with the high mag. Get rid of the wobble. Don't con yourself. Basically, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I did reply to the chat and said it is basically the wobble factor. The higher you zoom in, the more it's amplified through the scope. And I said there's a reason why most hunters use a 4-12 magnification scope, because it kind of eliminates that problem. But I've got a guy called Peter Allen. He's emailed me and he said, "I've just picked up a new rat permission on a local farmyard. It's a pig farm, I believe." He said, "But the rats are a bit tricky." He said, "You see a couple straight away, but they're just running left, right, and centre past him. They're not sort of stopping anywhere." He said, "Should I bait for them? And if so, what should I use, and how do I do it?"
Well, I would say bait with something that they can't take away. So bait with powder or paste or something very fine, so the rats can't grab it and run off to eat it somewhere else. Bait with something. Yeah, use your 940 nanometer night vision if you need it. If they're startled by your light, but bait with something they have to stand still and eat.
Do it over a period of time as well. Get them confident in about 4 or 5 different locations where they're clear of a hole, they're clear of cover, they're coming out at least 10 feet, so that when they start bouncing around after you've hit them, they won't be able to make the cover again before you can recover them. But get their confidence up. Do it in range of something you can hide behind and wait them out. So put some effort into it over a couple of weeks and get it on your terms. Get it somewhere where there's enough natural light from a not natural light, but electric light from overhead, spotlight or whatever, or total darkness. Use something like chocolate paste, peanut butter, what Russ has said, something they can't grab a big lump of and run away with, because that's their natural tendency, to keep it away from their mates and to keep so they're not out in the open feeding where owls and foxes and things can pick them up. So get them confident in about 4 or 5 locations, preferably somewhere where you can wait comfortably with a gun prop that you can rest your rifle on and you can pick them off. I like to be about 15 yards, 20 yards away, so that any noise factor is mitigated with that. Don't have it standing on corrugated iron or clanky tin or anything like that. But set it up on your terms. Set your ambush points, and then bait them up for at least a week. Let them eat freely, and then take a harvest of them maybe once or twice a week. And that's how, in my experience, you'll get the most.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone told me a long, long time ago. It was Mick Ball, actually. You know, Mick. He took me on a rat shoot years ago, and he said, "Did you know that these rats is it called Neophobia? Have you heard of that?
Fear of something new."
Yeah, and he said, "I'm going to put this bait down." We were using peanut butter at the time, and we could see, the rats were running along a wall, the base of a wall, to get to where the grain was. It was chicken feed, I think. It was a big sort of bin of it. He said, they're neophobic. He said, if you go and put some peanut butter in the middle of that run, they won't touch it, and the likelihood is they won't even use that run anymore. Not for, a good few days. They don't like change, and if you put something in their flight path, so to speak, they'll avoid it like the plague. So the best advice I can give, and I've done this loads of times on the yards that we shoot, is they've got to run. You can work out where the rats are running to and from somewhere where there's a food source. Just come away from it slightly, even if it's only like a couple of feet, 2 or 3 feet away from their main run. They'll smell it, they'll find it, and it is something new, but they won't generally go straight to it until they sort of they'll run past it 50, 60 times before they actually go and investigate.
Yeah, especially if they've got a big, like in a grain store, they've got literally tons of food. So you have to divert them, get it to them where they don't have to emerge quite as much as they do to get in the middle of a grain store. They got some of the ones Dave and I shoot, they've got to come out 15 yards, 20 yards to get to the middle. Well, if you can get them coming out 8 or 9 yards, they're more likely to. And you've got to give them something that's diverting enough to pull them away from 20 tons of grain. So, you've got to use a little bit of thought, and give yourself some time. Doable, though. It's always doable.
Yeah. Well, that's it for me for questions. You said you've got one, Terry.
Yeah. This one, in our pre-broadcast conversation, this is perfect for Russ to field. A mate of mine called Graham, he's in that stage now where Russ still is after all these years. Russ is the keenest newbie in the world, right? You know, when you first get into it and you're raving keen, well, he's like this. So he bombards me with stuff, but he wants to know, when is vermin not vermin? And I was going to answer it, but Russ has got a far better illustration of it with his new home. So over to you, Russ. You explain what you were talking to us about before we came on air.
We've gone from having not even a window box, to having a couple of acres. And I'm looking out over a front garden. We've let the grass go to meadow already. It's basically aiming for a wildflower meadow. But we've got rabbits burrowing in our garden. And if once my wife, might take a year or two, if once we have an established vegetable plot with chicken wire around it, if the rabbits still are eating the veg, then I might control some of them. But a few friends online have been like, oh, you'll be shooting all the rabbits in your garden. And I said, well, why would I do that? There's a general license, and a pest is only a pest when it's being a pest. So if we have a vegetable plot in our garden, which I can see it 70 meters away over there, that's where it's hopefully going to be eventually. If we put rabbit netting up and that keeps the rabbits out, I don't have to shoot them. I've fulfilled the criteria of the general license. I've tried my best to avoid the vermin becoming a problem, and I'll only shoot them if they do become a problem. Grey squirrels are slightly different. We've only seen one red squirrel so far in the last few months, about a quarter of a mile away, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We haven't seen any greys at all. I will be controlling greys within our property if we see any. But yeah, if the rabbits are just minding their own business, they've dug a few burrows, we've filled a few back in, because we don't want them to have burrows necessarily where they want them to be. So that's kind of a constant thing. But Lucy, our puppy, loves eating the rabbit jobbies, the little fresh ones. So she's liking the rabbits being around. But no, when I'm not going to. The first day I woke up here, I didn't grab my rifle and look for the first rabbit to shoot, because they're not a pest. Likewise, we have a Hike Micro M15 trail cam at the back door, and I notified our neighbour, is a sheep farmer. I let him know when I saw a fox for the first time about a month ago. I said, there was a fox picked up at 3 a.m. or whatever last night. And he said, oh, don't worry. He said, the lambs are already big enough that they're no longer endangered to the fox. So basically, the farmer's then happy to leave the fox be, because it's not causing a problem. Again, it's an example. If the fox was worrying the lambs, and the lambs were sort of small and young enough to be threatened, then the farmer has a few people who'll deal with it. But once the lambs are big enough, the fox no longer needs to be controlled, because it's no longer a pest.
I've never known any population of rats that weren't a pest, ever. So if there are any rats in my garden, I will shoot them. I will shoot rats on site at all times, because I've never known them not be a pest. They carry Viles disease. They've never done anything constructive within this environment. Even around the fishing lakes and things like that, the Viles disease pathogens can be carried in their urine and bodily fluids. They can stay active for days. So again, though, it's only when it's being a pest, and rats are always a pest.
Yeah.
As I'm concerned.
That's great advice. Everyone should read up on the general license. It's like no, you can't shoot a wood pigeon just because it's landed in your back garden. There are rules and regulations, and like Russ and Terry have both pointed out, if it's becoming a pest, it's a pest. If it's on the general licence, you can shoot it. Right, guys, it's time for us to round up. Thank you to everybody for watching, and massive thanks again to Crackshot for sponsoring the show. Go and check them out. They've just had a bit of a website upgrade, as far as I know, at www.crackshot.uk. Head on over as well to our website, which is www.airgun-world.com. And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Terry. And thank you, Russ, for coming on and blowing all our minds with loads of technical wizardry. Yeah, Matt and Rich are on in a couple of weeks' time. We'll be back, Terry and I, with another studio guest in a month's time. Take care, everyone. Hope you enjoy your shooting.